Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Vanachari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya Astoru Shishimat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya Astoru Shishimat His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Anantikoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Naam Acharya Salidas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radhikund Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Navdeep Dham Ki Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 22, text number 47. Yairidi Sri Bhagavato Gatiratmavada Ekan Tato Nigamabi Pratipaditana Tusyantavada Briyakaruna Swakritena Nityam Ko namatat pratikaroti vinoda patram Yairidi Sri Bhagavato Gatiratmavada Ekantato Nigamabi Pratipaditana Tusyantavada Briyakaruna Swakritena Nityam Ko namatat pratikaroti vinoda patram Yairidi Sri Bhagavato Gatiratmavada Ekantato Nigamabi Pratipaditana Tusyantavada Briyakaruna Swakritena Nityam Ko nama tat pratikaroti vinoda patram. Yairidrisi bhagavato gatiratmavada. Ekantato nigamabhi pratipaditana. Tusyantavada briyakaruna svakriteina nityam. Ko nama tat pratikaroti vinoda patram. Yairidrisi bhagavato gatiratmavada. Ekantato nigami pratipaditana. Tusyantavada briyakaruna svakriteina nityam. Ko nama tat pratikaroti vinoda patram. Yairidrisi bhagavato gatiratmavada. Ekantato nigami bihi pratipaditana. Tusyantavada briyakaruna svakriteina nityam. Ko nama tat pratikaroti vinoda patram. Yairidrisi bhagavato gatiratmavada. Ekantato nigami bhi pratipaditana. Tusyantavada briyakaruna svakriteina nityam. Ko nama tat pratikaroti vinoda patram. The word for word, yai, by those, idrisi, such kind of, Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Gati, progress, Atmavade, spiritual consideration, Ekantata, incomplete understanding, Nigamabhi, by Vedic scriptures, Pratipadita, conclusively established, Na, unto us, Tusyantu, be satisfied, Adabriha, unlimited, Karuna, mercy, Swakritena, by your own activity, Nityam, eternal, Ka, who, Nama, no one, Tat, that, Pratikaroti, counteracts, Vina, without, Udapatram, offering of water in cupped hands. Translation. Prithu Maharaj continued, how can such persons who have rendered unlimited service by explaining the path of self-realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose explanations are given for our enlightenment with complete conviction and Vedic evidence, be repaid, except by folded palms containing water for their satisfaction? Such great personalities can be satisfied only by their own activities, which are distributed amongst human society out of their unlimited mercy. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Great personalities of the material world are very eager to render welfare service to human society. But actually no one can render better service than one who distributes the knowledge of spiritual realization in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All living entities are within the clutches of the illusory energy, forgetting their real identity. They, however, in material existence, transmigrating from one body to another in search of a peaceful life. Since these living entities have very little knowledge of self-realization, they are not getting any relief. All they are very anxious to attain peace of mind and some substantial happiness. Saintly person like the Kumaras, Narada, Prahlada, Janaka, Sukadev Goswami, and Kapila Dev, as well as the followers of such authorities as the Vaishnava Acharyas and their servants can render a valuable service to humanity by disseminating knowledge of the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity. Such knowledge is the perfect benediction for humanity. Knowledge of Krishna is such a great gift that it is impossible to repay the benefactor. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj requested the Kumaras to be satisfied by their own benevolent activities in delivering souls from the clutches of Maya. The king saw that there was no other way to satisfy them for their exalted activities. The word Vinoda Patram can be divided in two words, Vina and Uda Patram, or can be understood as the word Vinoda Patram, which means joker. A joker's activities simply arouse laughter, and a person who tries to repay the spiritual master or teacher of the transcendental message of Krishna becomes a laughing stock, just like a joker, because it is not possible to repay such a debt. The best friend and benefactor of all people is one who awakens humanity to its original Krishna consciousness. I'll just read the verse again. Translation. Prithu Maharaj continued, how can such persons who have rendered unlimited service by explaining the path of self-realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose explanations are given for our enlightenment with complete conviction and Vedic evidence, be repaid, accepted by folded palms containing water for their satisfaction? Such great personalities can be satisfied only by their own activities, which are distributed amongst human society out of their unlimited mercy. It's quite an interesting purport. I was just looking at it, looking at the verse just earlier on. But it's quite an amazing purport by Srila Prabhupada as always. There are many points to discuss. There are many themes. But we'll start with the Supreme Welfare Service. So, even for myself, when I was, before I could become a devotee, when I was schooling, I had great affection for people, just people suffering, and I really wanted to be a welfare worker. But I never made it to university, so I couldn't be a welfare worker. And then I worked for the government. And then I was trying to help people. But still, you don't get complete satisfaction in helping people on a material platform. Therefore, the Supreme Welfare Service is rendered by great personalities, and they render the greatest welfare service. And the greatest welfare service is giving them spiritual realization. And spiritual realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this service actually surpasses all material welfare work. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, chapter 2, text 6, it talks about the supreme occupation, your dharma. For all humanity is that by which men can attain loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, unto the Transcendental Lord. And such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So if you want to get satisfaction, but if you have some motivation behind it, there is not complete satisfaction. For example, welfare workers may go out and try to plead to satisfy the person, but they also want to be recognized as the best welfare worker. So that recognition is an obstacle. It interrupts that service. So on a material platform, there's always some motivation. Like the other day, I went to a school to help one teacher to be appointed in Phoenix Technical College, and they were amazed to see me in this garb, and they were very happy, and then the principal was, his school is running very well, really exceptionally well. And then he started, and his deputy principal were telling me how the school is performing. They're getting such high percentages. And they even take the children home to teach them maths and science. And their pass rate for the last 3-4 years is 98%. That's amazing. It's an amazing thing. So, but within that, all that amazing results, there's the motivation that I want to be the best. So when I was, hearing them, I really appreciated them truly. But it also reminded me of the verse in the Bhagavatam that it must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy yourself. Ayutiki aprityata. So that understanding must be there. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhaktaram yagyatapasham sharvaloka maheshwaram suida sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. So one who understands that Krishna is the beneficiary of all sacrifices, all austerities, the supreme lords of all planets, demigods, he attains peace. The other person who's trying to strive for these, or have some motivation, he can't be peaceful. Even you find people who steal, and they steal large sums of money, and they have a lot of money, but they're still not happy. Because it doesn't belong to them. Even if they divide it equally amongst the thieves. But still there'll be that one day I'll get caught. So this is the way of spiritual realization, which brings you to real peace. Real peace. Like Prabhupada makes a very important point in one of the purports. Feeding a starving man is good, but feeding him with Krishna consciousness is the real mercy, because it saves him from taking another material body. So real welfare work, liberates the soul, not just the body. The body is material. Like yesterday, Nikunja and I were in a hospital, and we stayed for long hours. I only got back this morning. But we can see how Krishna consciousness is practical and it works. And we see this Mataji was, early on we went and saw her, Radhakund Mataji, and I was asking her, who are you thinking of? And she said, I'm thinking of Radharani. And her name is Radhakund. And I said, there at Radhakund, only Radha and Krishna is there. Nobody else can go there. So she was thinking of Radharani in this state. And later when we went in the night, and Nikunja Seva had a nice altar, and we placed it in front of her, and we're holding the altar, and we're chanting, and chanting, and then I started reading from the Krishna book. And as I read actually I wanted to read from the 5 chapters of the the Ras Leela actually. That's what I was going to read for her. But then when I saw, other people where I couldn't read it, and then I read Maria Yashoda binding Krishna, and you could see she lit up. And it was a whole face lit up. Nikunja, she just opened her eyes and was all lit up. And then she started chanting the Hare Krishna mantra in this condition. Like almost about to leave her body. But because she's hearing about Krishna, it's connecting to the soul. And even the children, I sat with them and I chatted with them for till the early hours of the morning, and then came. And I was amazed of the way they were together and trying to help her. But all of them knew that the only thing could help them was us. That's going to help her, chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And her daughter-in-law was amazing. We had some long chats after that, yes. But, they're concerned about the body. They're concerned about the body. It's just like recently I went for a funeral. So it was a devotee sister who passed away from Johannesburg. And the priest is asking, because the ceremony, you either, basically we have to burn the body ourselves. That's the real way to do it. When the last rites, we meant to burn the body ourselves. So, but we got this modern technology and things like that. But then the boy was walking around, said you can either touch it on the flower or on the face and on the lip. He said, no, I'll touch the flower. Because he was still thinking that was, the person. So like this, we have to come to understand we're not the body. In some places, you have to break the skull, because it doesn't burn. In India, it doesn't burn. When you go to Moksha Dham, it's in Vrindavan. I went to Moksha Dham in December to do a funeral. We are placing, bricks and all on the body, and we can see the body burning, right there, So yes. So we have to come to that understanding. Sisi Radharanath Ki. So the next point in the purport Prabhupada touched on was the condition of the living entities. And he's talking about all living entities are under the influence of Maya, illusion, because they forget their real identity as spirit souls. And we wander to different bodies in search for happiness and peace. You notice that? We're wandering. But the bodies are already there. Like Madhurya was reading some weeks back, that just like, all the countries are already there. I may have not gone to that country, like Nigeria is there, Kenya is there, all these different countries are there. So all these bodies are existing. But we just go into those different bodies. All the bodies are existing. And we just move from one body to another. We may go to higher species, and we may go to lower species. Like, we may become a fish if we're very attached to the fish. That body of the fish is already there. If you like swimming a lot, good luck, you'll get a body of a fish. And you can swim forever. So, for all your life. So this is, we have to come to that realization, we're not the body, we're spirit, soul, and we wonder, and we always disturb. Krishna explains in the Gita, what's that verse from the 15th chapter, text 7? Mamam se jiva loka jiva bhuta sanatana. That, we are eternal fragmental parts. But due to conditioned life, we're struggling very hard for existence with the 6 senses, which includes the mind. So we are struggling in this material world. So we are eternally fragmental parts of the Lord. So, actually, when we talk about soulmate, we think sometimes, when we were young, we're thinking this is my soulmate. Bhakti Mataji, we're like, not you now, but we're all thinking like this, differently. Well, in the 70s, people were a little different, Madhurya. They're quite different. Very, very different. Yes. So we think of our soulmate, but our soulmate is Krishna, that eternal fragmental part of Krishna. So Krishna is our soulmate. And in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 2, text 37, talks about forgetting Krishna. The living entity tries to enjoy material nature, but he becomes entangled in repeated birth and death. And it's very scary for us as devotees. We may forget because of the external energy, Maya is very strong. And the key point from this Prabhupada was making in the purport is that the forgetfulness of Krishna is a root cause of all suffering. When we forget Krishna, is a root cause of all suffering. Then the next point he speaks about the role of saintly persons. And we see he talks about the Kumaras, Narada, Prahlad, Janaka, Sukadev Goswami, Kapiladev, and all the Vaishnava acharyas. And they disseminate this knowledge. This is what the role of a saintly person is. And what knowledge is he giving? Relationship of the Supreme Lord and helping the souls to break away from the clutches of Maya. So that transcendental knowledge is very important, and having a spiritual mentor or guru is important. So just try to learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upajastyantyatye jnanam jnananas tattva darshina. We must keep saying these verses. It's so good. It's so purifying. And real sadhu sangha is to associate with those people who are preaching this message of Krishna consciousness all over the world. So we find Srila Prabhupada, who was a via medium, transparent via medium, and he was delivering so many conditioned souls and giving them transcendental knowledge. Now in the Gita it's explained that we're not meant to give this knowledge. Krishna says in the 3rd chapter also, this shouldn't be given to the people who are ignorant, this knowledge, in the 3rd chapter. But in a purport, I think it's the 37 text, probably the 37 text, that he speaks about that, the devotees of the Lord takes all kinds of risk of preaching Krishna consciousness, even going against the words of Krishna. Even going against the words of Krishna, they are preaching the message of Godhead because they know how beneficial it is for the conditioned soul. So they take this risk, and they got a very important role to play, because, and later in the 18th chapter of the Gita, it's explained that this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those people who are not austere, not devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor one who is envious. So we shouldn't be explaining to people who are not austere, not devoted, or engaged in devotional service. We shouldn't be telling it to envious people. But why do we do so? And as explained in the purport that we just quoted earlier on, there's so much of information given in the Gita. And then in the 67th verse, that was the 67th verse, also talks about that. Yes, this was from the 67th verse. Then the next point that we want to talk about from the purport is the supreme destination, supreme benediction, knowledge of Krishna. Because Krishna consciousness is described is the perfect benediction for humanity. Why? It gives you real peace, happiness. It's unlike temporary material benefits you get. And this is like the best gift you can get, Krishna consciousness. Because when, like we all took to Krishna consciousness, and how did we feel? In the beginning, it was really like, you felt very good. You felt very excited and happy. But as time went, you may not experience that type of bliss. And there are many reasons for that we won't discuss now. But the greatest gift one can give in charity is Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada speaks about that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the greatest gift. And the way you package Krishna consciousness will depend on the person that you are speaking with. You must be able to package it properly. Like sometimes I really don't speak about, philosophy. We just try to find out how they're doing, even materially. But because you're showing interest in their welfare, then they get attached to you, attracted to you, attached to you. And then slowly you can give them Krishna consciousness. So the key point there is that Krishna consciousness is the supreme charity and the most valuable treasure. That's the key point. And then Krishna also explains in the Gita that one who explains this supreme secret, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And the end, he will come back to me. So when you're giving this knowledge, you can go back to Krishna. Does anybody have any questions? Because we don't really have time for questions. Anybody want to raise anything, could raise it while I'm speaking. Yes. See, generally the Bhagavad Gita is discussed among devotees only. As Prabhupada writes in the purport, it is a subject matter for devotees only and not for philosophical speculators. But we're still selling Bhagavad Gita. We want people to take to Bhagavad Gita. We speak from the Gita. We want them to become conscious of Krishna. And this is the greatest welfare work. And then in the end, we can go back to Krishna by speaking from Bhagavad Gita. Because not everybody is envious. You get people who are innocent also. And they may come and sit, like we have open class. We don't know who's envious. We're not going to ask, well, are you envious? Go outside. We're not going to do that. We know people are envious anyway. We're not going to do that. We have an open class. But within that, there may be some very innocent people who would get this message. And those people who are innocent, they go to the planet where the pious dwell by hearing Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that where he goes to, Dhruvaloka, which is a spiritual planet, where the pious dwell. Which is not, it's a spiritual planet. Anyway, so this is giving that information. The gift of spiritual knowledge is so great that it cannot be repaid. It's invaluable. Therefore Prithu Maharaj acknowledges the Kumaras, that he cannot really repay them. Because if you try to repay your teacher, it's like a joker's act. Like he's talking about, it's a laughing stock. It's beyond repayment. I had a good opportunity of being taught by very good teachers in my whole schooling career. And when I met, in a funeral, I met my teacher who taught me 50 years ago, maybe 55 years ago, and she still remembered my name. And then I went to her house to visit her. She had cancer, and I went to visit her. But I actually sent a lot of books for her. She was a vegetarian, and I sent a lot of books for her, and she was reading, and then I went and visited her. But she wanted to tell me some things, because she seemingly knew my family members from childhood. And she wanted to tell me some things, but there was somebody else with me, so she didn't talk. But she left this world just a year or two ago, yeah. So I had very good teachers. But we really respect our teachers for giving us that knowledge, even material knowledge. But we also have respect for them, for the teachers. And then there was another teacher that who taught me, and who was my form master, and he was very good. He was excellent. He was an English and an Afrikaans teacher. He was super excellent, and he was from the Maharaj family, but very, very wonderful person. And then he joined the department where I was working, so I was working with him. And whenever I had difficulties in translating, everything was in Afrikaans, all the acts were in Afrikaans, I would go to him to get knowledge. I would say, I don't understand this word, this is a little difficult, because I could understand most of it, about 80% or 90% of it. But some words were very difficult in Afrikaans, so he would explain me. So giving knowledge. So we still respect our teachers, like that. So we have to have respect. So then we cannot repay them. Like in the King Prithu could not repay the Kumaras because they were giving this knowledge. But it reminds me, just like how, the gopis and Krishna, Krishna becomes like a debtor. Because, and he says that, let all your glorious deed be your payment, is all your glorious deeds that you have done. So we cannot really pay our teachers, our spiritual masters, our benefactors, but we have great respect, and therefore with folded hands we always approach our teachers. So it is not possible to repay them. Just like in the purport to the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes, the disciplic succession does not mean imitation. It means to present the message as it is. And in this way one becomes a true spiritual master to whom the disciple is eternally indebted. Just like if someone saves you from drowning, can you repay him? No. How can you repay the Guru who saves you from repeated birth and death? So you cannot really repay them. And Krishna says, there's no servant in this world who's more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So the key point we can learn from this is that the debt to a genuine guru or preacher is immeasurable and unpayable. You cannot pay it. So then we move on to the next, probably the last points. I'll keep some time for questions. The true benefactor. The best friend and true benefactor of all living entities is one who revives their dormant Krishna consciousness. See, Krishna consciousness is already there. It just has to be ignited, It's already there. You may meet a devotee, you may get a book. And that person who helps you, that person is your true benefactor. And then they take to spirituality. They become spiritual, and their journey begins. And they in due course of time, they realize their spiritual identity. A lot of people, some people are humble. We may not know them. They may not be holding position in society, or they may just come and do some service and humbly go away. But they have deep realizations of Krishna. Like last night, we was Radhakund Mataji. Really, somebody in that condition could chant. I just couldn't believe it. I stopped her. No, let her chant now. She's chanting. So it's very beautiful, because she's remembering Krishna even at that crucial hour before she leaves this world. And then I started reading. When I went in, I didn't come out. For those people were waiting and waiting and waiting. But I was reading on the rasa dance, and I read that whole, because it was just between me and her. And I was reading the introduction from the Krishna book, and I was feeling so enlivened. And she's like, breathing and all the tubes, and I was just reading like without stopping. And the nurse is also watching, the doctor came, but I just carried on reading. And I was going to go to the next chapter. Then I thought, well, maybe the people want to come in. So I went out and But I've spent a long time. But you could see how this Krishna consciousness is so beautiful, giving it. Even Vasudev's wife, Vasudev? His wife was a very good devotee. And I always was thinking, when I'm going to go see her, when I'm going to go and see her. But I couldn't go. And then finally, I told Raghunath, hey, we have to go. So they wouldn't allow anybody in the ICU, and they were very strict. They turned the devotees away. So I went there, I just knocked the door. I said, open the door, I'm the priest. Open the door. I walked straight in. And there was a small radio there playing with some Hindi music. I called the nurse, I told her, stop this. There's a box here, we're playing this box. This is Prabhupada chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. We put it on, I put it on. I instructed her, well, she was a Hindu, she could understand. So I told her not to put it off, and we left. She left her body. So we got the message, she left. And really, and he always remembers that there was nobody else there, So Krishna will make that arrangement, when the time comes, due to our advancement in Krishna consciousness. He will make that arrangement for somebody to come and help us at the time of death. Like even the family members were so grateful to Nikunja, who made all efforts to go there and help the soul. And that is such a nice thing to do. And when a spiritual master called, when Bhatta Maharaj called, he instructed her that box of Prabhupada should be playing. The chanting of Hare Krishna. So the greatest friend is the preacher of Krishna consciousness. And the preacher is the most dear servant of the Lord, as Prabhupada explains in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The preacher is the true well-wisher of humanity, because he is giving the fallen souls the chance to end their suffering permanently. So the key point there, that Krishna is the greatest friend, the one who revives others to Krishna consciousness. So this is in essence, this purport is very beautiful, that we want mercy and we should strive for getting that mercy. I know it's like, it also reminds me of, I said it before, but I'll just say it again, is Puri Maharaj's wife. And she had this realization, but she was just a simple person who didn't, maybe just did some sewing, cooking, and, helping the devotees. And she was not like, the way Puri Maharaj explained, she couldn't have even read the first canto. So it's not about that, it's about that devotion. When having that devotion, but she realized a spiritual form, that she's packing lunch for Krishna, and the devotees recorded that, and a book was produced. The book was called Simple for the Simple, and I printed that book. And Bhatta Maharaj directed us how the cover should be, and we printed this book. And this book had been taken I took it to India also and gave it to Ras Bihari Lal to sell it. So this is, how devotees can realize the spiritual form in this lifetime. And the greatest friend is Krishna. But the devotees can give you Krishna. And that's more important. So you must be with the devotees. So we'll stop here. Is there any comments or questions? The thing is, Vidyapati was making a nice point that day to me. Can you give him the microphone? He was going to say something. Because preaching sometimes is painful for people to hear the truth. And Before he leaves, he'll just mention that what he was telling me the other day. Give him the microphone. I was speaking about abortion, and he was making such a nice point. Not Vidya, but you're not listening. Yeah, just hear this point. It's such an interesting point.
Hare Krishna. So this happened in the late 1980s. So Giriraj Swami was giving a class, and in that class was a lady who was aspiring to be Maharaj's disciple. So she told Maharaj, I'm a pediatric mother at Chobok General Hospital, and we deliver children, and when we see that the babies are like severely deformed, and we know that they're not going to make it in life, and they will probably be looked down upon, they'll be treated badly, because physically they are very deformed. So what I do is I take the child, I put the child in the bathroom, and I open the window, and after a while the child passes away, and then I write in the report, stillborn. And that's what I've been doing for many, many years. So Maharaj was very, very upset, and he said, Mataji, who gives you the right to play the role of God? You are merely an instrument. You do not have that right to do what you are doing. So that Mataji, she left the temple at Mulder's Drift, and she went away, and we never saw her again. Apparently she went away to New Zealand, and we just never saw her again after that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else with comments? We got 4 minutes. Ravinda, you like to say anything? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.